going to London now to see the Christmas lights, and then I'm going to go straight to my uncle from there. I have now left the restaurant and I am going to the tube. I did have to leave for dinner slightly early, but that's okay because I still had my pizza. Okay, so I'm at the hospital now. I'm just about to go to handover. Fingers crossed it's a quiet shift. So I've just taken the handover and about to start looking through my jobs. So my current job is in oncology, but the on-calls cover hematology and oncology together. Overnight there are 2 SHOs, which are senior house officers, so this could be anyone from an F2 level and above who's not a registrar or consultant. In an attempt to be festive, I'm wearing a red top which matches my red stethoscope, and I've got these snowflake earrings on, so that is my Christmas look for today. So it is 10:30 p.m. and I have just reviewed a patient who has come in. They were seen in A&E and they were transferred to the oncology ward, so I was just doing a clerking, very similar to the clerking that I used to do back in my previous job in acute medicine. Essentially, this is a patient who has a head and neck cancer and they are on chemotherapy, and they've come in because they've had lots of nausea and vomiting and diarrhea, which is probably as a consequence of their chemotherapy, and they haven't been able to eat or drink for the last day. They've come in for that reason. So I'm going to go back and type up my clerking, prescribe the regular medicines and the antibiotics for this patient. It's quite a difficult time for patients and families because it's Christmas, so emotions are high. We try to be as accommodating and as empathetic as possible, especially around this time of year. Obviously there are lots of decorations and things on the wards, but it doesn't replace the fact that you are away from your family for Christmas. Being on oncology means looking up random chemotherapy drugs in the middle of the night because there are so many. So I drew the short straw this year because I was rotated to work Christmas. I also worked Christmas last year. I was working the day shift in Croydon, so I'm working the 23rd night, which goes into 24th morning, and the 24th night, which goes into Christmas morning, which is okay because I'll be at home by 10 a.m, so I'll sleep and then get on with the rest of Christmas. It is now midnight, so I've got another 8 hours to hand over and then my shift finishes at 8:30. I try to drink around 2 litres of water in the night. I find that that's the only way to stop me from getting headaches. It is currently 1 a.m. and I'm going to review a patient on the ward who has spiked a temperature of 40 degrees. So I've just come back from reviewing a patient who I was asked to see because they were spiking a temperature and they had a fast heart rate, so they were tachycardic. Essentially what I did was just go back to basics and do what we call the sepsis 6, which is where you give 3, take 3, and it is what you do in the first hour of someone who has sepsis. So essentially the principles are you give 3, which is oxygen if they need it, IV fluids and antibiotics, and you take 3, which is blood cultures, lactate and urine output. So this on-call is very much about fighting fires and dealing with what is an emergency. It is 3:30 and I'm going on my break and I'm going in search of food. It's actually been an interesting night shift today. Like I said, it is more about recognizing what is an emergency and dealing with things in a basic way from first principles. If someone comes in, like the patient that I had that had sepsis, it's like dealing with that, starting with a basic examination using A to E technique, and then doing things like the sepsis 6, which we talked about. So I finished my break and I'm going back to work. Normally I would have more sleep on these days, but it's Christmas, so we were out seeing the Christmas lights. So it's currently 4:15 in the morning. I am back in the office and I'm reviewing some urgent jobs. In this trust, we have these iPhones, which are called smart pages. Essentially, people such as nurses, pharmacists and other doctors can message you on these phones. But it's like the bleep system, but a little bit more modern because you can actually message people. It's currently 6 a.m. and it has been quite busy the last couple of hours. There have been quite a few sick patients, so we've had to review them. At least it's nearly the end of the shift. It's just 2 hours till handover. Just gotta keep fighting those fires until we can go home. I'm so happy because it's 8 a.m. and I'm going to handover. So I've handed over everything and now I am going home. So it's Christmas Eve and I'm just on my way to work. I am very tired, but I had a refreshing shower and now I am ready to go for the second night shift. Thankfully it's only 2 out of 2, so it's really not too bad. In an attempt to get into the Christmas spirit, I am wearing a Christmassy jumper and a fairy coat. I am about to start my shift in the hospital. It is super windy, but it's actually really refreshing because the cold wind is really waking me up. As you can see, it's super festive around here, which is really nice. So I hope there'll be a really nice spirit in the hospital today because everyone's banding together on Christmas. I am getting ready to start my shift. It is 8:30 and I am about to go to handover. So I've taken the handover and I am going to the office now to start looking at the jobs and get to work. It is 11:50 and I am going to another ward to do a cannula. This is one of the classic jobs that you get on ward cover. It's usually when people have already tried to cannulate a patient but they have been unsuccessful and then they call the on-call doctor. One of the first things you always have to ask is what is the indication for the cannula and is it really necessary overnight for the patient to have something intravenously? In this case it is because the patient is sick and needs IV antibiotics. So wish me luck. I have just done the cannula and I was successful. As I was doing it, the clock turned midnight and it is officially Christmas, so Merry Christmas. The patient and I wished each other Merry Christmas as well. Merry Christmas! So it is now 5:30 in the morning and I managed to have a short nap of about an hour and a half. This is because it's been uncharacteristically quiet today and the other junior doctor and I both decided to see if we could get a little bit of a rest. So I went to the junior doctor's mess and he went to the other sleeping pod available in the hospital. Even though I was asleep, I still had my bleep on me, so if there were any emergencies it would wake me up because it is very loud. Now I am going to look through all the other non-urgent things and get ready for handover. This is where I slept. This is a reclining chair that is more comfortable than it looks. Why this is really good. It is 8 a.m. on Christmas Day and I have finished. I've just handed over everything and I'm going to put this in the confidential waste bin. It is Christmas, so I am happy to be finished.